I think there's 3 people that really stand out. It's me, Jankos, and Trick. I think the rest is a bit lower than us, but I think we are top 3.
Nice!
Sidestep by Selfie. Jankos is there to finish.
I'm kinda aggressive early game jungler. I don't care about, myself. I just care about my team.
H2K! H2K! H2K!
I think I'm an aggressive jungler who can do a lot of pressure in the early game and make my lanes snowball.
Coming into the middle lane, Gilius has found Selfie. The kick into the binding.
Probably the word that every jungler is looking for when they play is to be as efficient as possible.
I think I'm a really aggressive early game jungler. We almost always win the early game.
Frenzy on, Reckless is caught. He's first blooded.
I can explode at any moment. Exploding in I can go ham.
This is just a massacre for UOL.
Welcome everyone to the European LCS. We're coming to you live from our studio in Berlin, Germany, where you are getting a look at Elements, who had a fan meet right before the show and right before they take to the stage here in week 5, as well as the Unicorns of Love, because they'll be going up against H2K to maybe move up even higher in the standings. They're currently in the 3rd place, and in 1st place shared with G2 is H2K. We'll see if they can keep that going. As you can see, our studio is packed for week 5 as we are approaching the halfway mark of the split here already. Fantastic to see everyone absolutely fired up. And hello everybody, I'm H2K supporter, joined on the desk by Season 1 World Champion jungler for Fnatic, Lauri Cyanide Happonen, as well as our very own James Tress O'Leary and Trevor Quickshot Henry. Very happy to have you back, Cyanide. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Very happy to be here once again as well, and hopefully I can provide some dank and meaningful
and some good one-liners, we'll see. In any case, just 5 games away from the halfway mark in spring 2016, G2 are sharing the top spot in the league with H2K, and the UOL round out the top 3 with Fnatic and Vitality right behind them. Cyanide, as a viewer, what have you found of our team so far?
I think teams are still in the kind of touch and go situation. Like there is a lot of room to still improve. For example, like Origin and Fnatic kind of falling off from last year. Obviously Fnatic losing a lot of the players, and Origin like still more used to the objective metagame, and now the metagame is obviously more about like turrets and pushing, and that's what H2K and G2 are excelling at.
Yeah, and of course, with the fact that today is the day that officially makes halfway point, you're actually starting to run out of time to learn the meta to adapt. So from here going forward is where teams really have to turn the pressure on and figure out how to actually play in the current meta to pick up those wins.
And the meta is ever changing. For example, new to the Rift in week 5 is Jhin, the Virtuoso, now eligible for, pro play, and he brings another unique mechanic to the Rift.
Oh yeah, another champion, more uniqueness. This time it's all about the number 4 for Jhin. He has an ammo mechanic, has to reload after that 4th shot, but the 4th shot gives him a big crit that is 100% guaranteed. Here you can see his ultimate, the curtain call, another 4, but this is again all about that massive long-range damage with Jhin. Does have some drawbacks. We're not expecting him to be 100% picked and banned, but there's an outlier chance that we see him.
There is, and Sven has actually made Reddit a couple times. He's got 2 pentakills on the champion already. I know we've seen him spamming it, but I'm excited to see if a team is brave enough to run a new champion, because on the stage, they're usually not.
I've actually played a lot of Jhin myself. I think it's really fun, and I think he does have a lot of potential, like with the traps in sieging and objective control. Like it's really easy to kite into them, and it's really hard to pass them, obviously, when you're being attacked. And like the W is really long range, like almost a global snare to catch people, and the ultimate to follow up as well. But then again, he's really easy to assassinate and get caught, and the damage output isn't that high as other ADCs at the moment.
We'll see if a team dares to pick him, and all week long we're heading into the jungle, taking a closer look at everything between the lanes with some help from players both former and current. With a lot of ELO on the desk this week, we want you to ask a jungler, so tell us what you want to know at LOL Esports, and be sure to include that hashtag, and we'll get some answers later today.
There's not a lot yet.
No.
The ELO will come later.
Where are you at now, ELO-wise, Cyanide?
I mean, at the moment I'm Diamond 2, but this is because I haven't played that much.
Yeah,
hang on, still higher than Deficio. Don't worry, don't worry. It's fine.
It's true. That's all what truly matters.
That is everything that truly matters. Well, looking towards today's games, we'll kick things off with a fight for the top of the standings between the Unicorns of Love and H2K, then Fnatic versus Elements, and later on G2 faces Vitality. Well, we started off strong. UOL versus H2K. Think of that matchup.
UOL, H2K, yeah, obviously like two very strong teams at this point, and I think H2K has the slight advantage. I think they are a bit more of a flawless team, but then again, in the beautiful game of League of Legends, anything can happen. I mean,
and
even
this week's going to have a lot of beautiful games because you got obviously UOL H2K, Rocket Giants later in the day, Fnatic, well, tomorrow, H2K G2, UOL Fnatic, like OG Vitality. We've got so many sick games. I'm very excited.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the wire this week. And as a reminder, this is the last day we'll see teams match up for the first time this split. After today, each team will have played every other squad once. And now to kick off Jungle Week, we'll start in pre-match with a look at Runes and Masteries. Take it away, Pulse.
Thank you so much, Sharks. And before we can take a look at what the pros are running, we have to see who they're actually taking into the jungle. So first of all, we're going to see who's right on top, which actually Elise, which is by far the most picked champion here, followed by Graves, Rek'Sai, and then Lee Sin, who are just in the next popular tier. And just below them is Kindred and Nidalee. So you can see a big fall-off between them and the big junglers. So we're going to focus in on the three major choices we've seen being played: the AP junglers, the marksmen, and the bruisers. So specifically, the Runes of Masteries, the pros are loading up onto the Rift with. So first, we're going to look into the rune pages. We see those AP junglers hitting the Rift. So first of all, we see this overall kind of fairly standard rune page for an AP-based champion, AP quints and glyphs along with armor seals for early clears. The difference being on the LCS stage comes in those marks, however, with Elise players generally running attack speed for those faster clears, since most of her early damage comes in the form of auto attacks versus those spells. On the other hand, Nidalee players often take flat AD marks, since this is a big part of her early clears. It revolves around those specific ability sequences and animation cancelling. So when it comes to the Masteries, we're going to swap over to those now. The two are even more similar. We see players taking double-edged sword, so all these choices are a little different over Feast a vast majority of the time. Since these champions don't really take a lot of damage in their initial clear, they don't really need the sustain from Feast. In the Cunning tree, here comes the big surprise, if the choice of Assassin over Runic Affinity. This mostly falls off and turns into playstyle, but gives a small but meaningful edge in duels and skirmishes throughout the whole game. Now we're going to move on to those marksman runes. And while this may look basically like a normal standard marksman rune page, there is some few key differences we need to point out here that you would never really see in the bottom lane when you take those AD carries. First of all, armor pen marks, scaling health seals, along with cooldown reduction glyphs and AD quints. Those are the big differences. However, with these three champions, those unusual choices actually synergize really well in the 2016 jungle meta. With the health, specifically, it synergizes with the common items they pick up, like more of Malmortius, then Sterix Gauge, and then you look at the CDR option. It's more of a greedy one because you can get blown up by the mid lane, you can get blown up by AP casters, so it makes you a glass cannon, but it is really worth it in the long run in terms of that DPS. Now, moving on to those masteries, things are much less varied, a lot like the first page we saw. The big outlier is Graves players often run Sorcery over Fury in the Ferocity tree, because this actually focuses in on his ability-focused kit versus those auto attacks. And finally, we're going to move on to our last group here, is the Bruiser group. While the marks, seals, and glyphs are fairly standard, as you can see, the distinctions lie in the quintessences, where Rek'Sai players run attack speed for a more effective Queen's Wrath, which deals more damage to an AoE, and Lee Sin players take AD quints because his kit revolves around weaving auto attacks in with those abilities as well, which also scale from AD. Now, onto the mastery pages, and this is where things really start to get interesting. The most common choice we see is Thunderlord's Keystone, which basically makes sense with a few champion-specific choices in the Ferocity tree. Just with attack speed on the rune pages, Lee Sin trends towards the sorcery, going with the auto attacks and the spells, whereas Rek'Sai goes with the attack speed, of course, from Fury. Then, 25% of the time, we see Bruisers climb the Resolve tree and settling on Strength of the Ages. Now, Strength of the Ages, this is a Keystone Mastery that gives an extra 300 HP as the jungler kills large monsters and siege minions, a bonus worth 800 gold in total when fully stacked. And then, when fully stacked, also restores 6% of max health once the 300 HP cap has been reached. So, fairly simple. The gold injection, however, really benefits the junglers with a weak clear speed, since they can't farm efficiently and don't get a big gold income. So we're seeing this choice a lot in Korea's LCK and including last week in the LCS, but we are expecting it to spread westward more into the LCS and NA specifically this week. So, while it ultimately comes down to playstyle, hopefully this has given you some guidance where to take these meta junglers to Summoner's Rift and how to use them. And also, for a closer look at the meta picks, the runes, and the masteries, everything you've seen here, check out lolesports.com's Twitter, which will be sending them all after this segment. Now, back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you very much, Paul. And you were mentioning how strength of the Aegis Cyanide is going to become very, very prevalent for our junglers.
Yeah, I think a lot more junglers are gonna start picking it up because it's just like so much free stats. Like you can get it stack probably in like 10 minutes and it just very, very strong.
Champions today that can run it with the Kindred, you know, the AD carry style, even the Elise style. Runic Echoes is such a young item, but still people are like, nah, give me Cinderhulk, give me tank, I need it.
Yeah, you know, there's something wrong with the mastery, right? When AD carries are going in the defensive tree to get that sweet, sweet HP.
Well, we see if our junglers in this matchup will go for it. We're about to see H2K going head-to-head with the Unicorns of Love at the top of the tables. Unicorns of Love, they're hot off a 2-0 week last week around, solidly in third place, and now they're on to their third jungler in 8 games. And very interestingly, they got 8 out of 8 First Bloods, and in 7 of those, their jungler was involved in. Cyanide, what do you make of this team that they're able to sub in any jungler and do really well?
I really don't know, like either they are getting really lucky with the junglers or there's like some external mastermind guiding the hand of the jungler here, maybe Hylsang or I have no idea.
Well, I mean, we are also a little bit perplexed when it's like, man, how are they doing so good with these different junglers? You mentioned Hylsang. He's a guy that, you know, I think has come on leaps and bounds over the last year and a half in the LCS. He seems to be a very solid base and is one of these voices you've heard the players talk about. As a team, we've accepted these junglers and it's worked very well. It's very, very impressive from the Unicorns.
And on top of that, they have, of course, the AD carry who is very well able to hold his own. Fox seems to be gelling good with the team, and then Vizicachi, who is doing great in the meta.
So if I wanted to make a comeback as a jungler, I should probably
join UOL.
Yeah, UOL.
Yeah, that's it. They have everything going for that. In any case, looking towards H2K in this one, who are in shared first place with G2. They're dominant still, but they are looking a little less dominant now with Selfie in the mid lane than Rio, even though Selfie, for instance, last week had a great week. Why do you think that is?
I think Selfie is actually a really great player, but I also think he's probably the most tiltiest player in the LCS. Like there are just some of these games when he randomly dies 1-on-1 and then it just plays terribly afterwards.
Yeah, we'll see what happens if you'd had to call it. I actually, before the season, I would say, okay, H2K will probably certainly take this, but in this one?
I still think H2K got the advantage.
Yeah. I think so as well. I think we just saw some stats there talking about the pacing of the game. Selfie's a little better earlier in the game, but I think Unicorns have come out with much better map-wide macro play. That kind of setup, and I think this could be, weirdly, could be the team to challenge H2K when it comes to a lane swap and tower pushing. Really weird saying that. But
no, I actually follow you on that. The Unicorns of Love actually have the highest gold at 10 minutes in the European LCS because of those First Bloods, but I do feel like they don't close out as games yet as soon as they could, and maybe a team like H2K who knows what to do in a macro strategy will be able to put something against that.
It's very possible. That's the thing, is like, how much does First Blood then ripple effect through? In a game that you're alluding to is about towers, sometimes it actually doesn't mean too much. If you take that First Blood but lose 2 towers for it, that can have a much bigger impact on the game. So much is going to depend on these first 10 minutes, and I'm excited. This is going to be such a good matchup.
We'll see what happens. Our players are ready, so for a roster rundown, we're going to head inside and meet our casters.
Cheers, guys. Thank you, Shucks. I've stepped inside the battle arena alongside Martin de Vischer-Lunge, and we're just moments away from this fight for the top of the tables.
Yes, we are. And again, Unicorns of Love sitting a bit higher than we expected, probably coming into the split. But overall, they've been looking super solid as a team.
Yeah, all over the board as well. And as you were saying on the analyst desk, you know, they could actually challenge them in terms of macro. But first of all, as we load up, let's take a quick look at those lineups. On the blue side for the Unicorns of Love, it is Chachi in the top lane. It's Rudy in the jungle. Fox in the mid lane with Steelback and Hylsang and AD carry in support with, of course, Coach Sheepy.
Yeah, and then on the other side, we have H2K with Odo Amna up in the top lane. Jankos as the jungler. Selfie is still in the mid lane for this week, forgiven as the AD carry. Vander on support, and of course Prolly is still there as a coach. He's been there almost 2 years running, and I feel like he's been one of the most impactful coaches. Here in Europe, you can see how H2K, despite changing players, are sticking to the same style, and that to me falls on the coach, especially because they're so good as a macro team now 2 years running. And again, as I said, even with 3 new players. So a lot of respect for Prolly and what he's doing with this team.
Yeah, really smart coach. But then you look on the other side with Unicorns of Love, like they really have stepped up in terms of what they're looking at in-game and actually just not making the big plays and just trying to win games off of that. They're actually going in with a strategy and executing it.
And I feel like Sheepy was one of the guys we looked at last year, just to stick to the coaches, and we kind of questioned it because pick and ban phase was a bit of a mess for Unicorns of Love, very inconsistent in-game. Now, he said himself in an interview, he's putting more focus on really learning the game so he can teach the players and be more involved in terms of how to play the meta. And it's been paying off for the Unicorns of Love because they do look a lot more solid as a macro team now compared to last year.
And all of that starts in this game because they could challenge H2K, and that currently 6-2 are UOL, 7-1 H2K in this first game of the day. Let's get to those bans first of all. Nidalee, Lissandra, and Quinn coming out from Unicorns of Love as their bans. Then Callista, Alistair just waiting on the last one from H2K. We'll see what's going to be.
Poppy still open, Corki as well as a ban. Either H2K keeps both of them open and they take a trade, and then potentially get a Lucian pick as well. So if Unicorns goes Corki, lock in here, H2K gets Lucian. That's also why Unicorns are not going to fall into that trap, because it is so difficult with these AD carry bans now, when there are 3 of them, Callista, Lucian, Corki in almost every single game. And you know Forgiven will go absolutely crazy on a Lucian. The one thing we have to question is, will Forgiven just go Caitlyn and then kind of nullify a little bit because he's such a good Caitlyn player? And then you get Corki now for Selfie instead of the mid lane. Does that have more impact for H2K than Unicorns taking a Corki and then giving Forgiven Lucian?
I'm not really sure. Forgiven will always perform regardless of what champion he's on. They could see a Caitlyn pickup here, but
wait for next rotation, obviously.
Yeah, I would like to see the Corki being picked up for sure, though.
Yeah, I think Corki, and then you go Graves or Elise as your jungle pick here. So you get high priority picks at the moment. You don't need to really get anything for support because Alistair is banned away. He's kind of the #1 guy there you normally pick. So I would definitely expect a jungle lock in. We haven't seen Graves from Rudy. So maybe you take Elise to kind of remove that from him. Or you go for a third option. There's a lot of good junglers open here. The jungle pool is very large at the moment, I feel. With Quinn also being played in jungle, Nidalee being a very contested pick. Kindred obviously is enabled like she was last week.
Yeah.
And she still is a fantastic jungler here in 6.2 despite some nerfs.
Fantastic jungler, of course, wasn't enabled a couple of weeks ago, but as that guy Pulse was saying over there, we saw a big drop-off in terms of how much people were picking the AP junglers and the marksman, kind of like in the same way with Kindred and Nidalee, but going to be picked up here, and with the Corki. On the other side, 2 fast lock-ins immediately, Rise and Braum.
And I really like this now that we get further and further into the meta here, or we dig deeper into it, and the pick and ban phase starts evolving. So now it turns into, okay, we first pick Lucian, so we know they will take Corki. Okay, how can we deal with Corki? Let's pick up Braum. He's good against poke champions. So he can block some of the damage coming in from Corki. I do think he's slightly better against the likes of Lucian himself, or Misfortune maybe, blocking her ulti completely, than the continuing spam coming from a Corki. But then like it keeps evolving, and what are their next tier, or what's the next tier of picks we can get? Because there's so many now that you can actually get in the second rotation on blue side. You can still get top picks like Rise and Braum, which has been such a good support here in Europe.
Yeah, it's kind of nice as an early pick though, because one, it takes away from the poke team if they go all the way down that route, so they don't also take the Braum as a front line, and they'll pick up the Tam Kench with the Victor. It also denies like going like a Nidalee, for example. Of course, Kindred's already been picked up anyway, but could flex into the AD carry role, Corki mid, and then a Nidalee jungle. That's not what they're going for just yet, as the Victor is there.
And we sometimes see teams be afraid to pick Victor against the Braum because he can block the laser and therefore deny some of the wave clear that Victor normally would always provide if it's against a siege composition. But obviously H2K can see Rise and Lucian already there, so it's 2 low-range champions, nothing siege-related at all. So they're not really afraid of Victor being in a bad spot when it comes to his wave clear, and therefore they can take him against Braum and don't really care about it, just get a safe pick in mid. You can move the Tam Kench support now, or you can move him top lane, so you get the counter pick for Odoamne in this case. And I actually think the reason H2K values the top lane counter pick more than mid lane counter pick here is because, in my opinion, the star player for Unicorns of Love has been Vizichachi. This split here, he gets a lot more jungle attention, being a Diamond Prox, a Rudy, or Joko playing. Chachi's been getting the attention, so give a counter pick potentially for Odoamne to make sure he can get a good matchup, instead of risking Chachi counter picking him and then Unicorns camping that lane, and suddenly they get rolling like we've seen time and time again this split.
Hopefully that will even up the odds for him, because yeah, that could be a difficult lane and maybe shut down Unicorns of Love at its core, at its spine. But they do pick up the Ahri and Rek'Sai as their final rotation. So Rek'Sai, of course, going into the jungle and Ahri into the mid lane up against Victor.
What we see sometimes against Victor, some of these assassins coming in to pressure him in lane. He will be okay, he won't die, but he does get pushed down to his tower quite a bit, so he gives up some mid control in the start until he can start instant wave clearing. I want to see if H2K puts Tahm Kench top against Ryze. It's hard to stop the Ryze from farming, but you can actually set up ganks really easily. He can't really kill you. When he uses his entire mana pool, you just pop your grey health and you're kind of like, well, there you go, you need to kill me a second time, and Ryze runs out of mana. But at the same time, you can also get a matchup where you have a scaling top laner who can actually bully him later on as a split push, and that's what H2K is doing with Fiora here. So they got the counter pick for Odoamne, or they got the option to counter pick. And as long as Odoamne doesn't fall behind early, he's gonna hit a point where he would just become a massive split pusher that Chachi has a hard time dealing with.
Actually, that matchup is very interesting. I can't wait to hit it when we get into game, at least in the first couple of minutes. A lot of cool interactions that go into that one. But yeah, back into the mid lane, you've got the Victor against the Ahri, so control mage, and then maybe can try and pressure him out, as you alluded to before. And then the Tahm Kench will be going to support this time.
And this Tahm Kench pick can actually turn out to be the MVP pick for H2K, because Unicorns of Love has a lot of single target focus. Braum applying his passive on one target to CC him. Ryze, of course, aiming for one target mainly. Ahri the same. Like, yes, there's a little bit of AoE damage here and there, but most of it is pick one target and assassinate one target with this comp from Unicorns of Love. And the Tahm Kench just completely shuts that down every single time.
Well, now you've seen the compositions, it's time to load up for UOL and H2K to load onto this clash for the top of the tables.
I'm here, go, 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 go. Will H2K sit atop the table of Europe?
Yo, tank them, tank them. We'll have to see indeed if the Unicorns can pull off that coordination. Fight. Kill them all, kill them all. We need to fight now. Go Nexus. Good job. Yes. Oh my god. We can't kill them. Everyone, I block. We can finish them.
And we are hitting the rift. Unicorns of Love against H2K getting into this one. The first time they're meeting each other before everything resets tomorrow, Deficio.
Yeah, and these are the two teams that came into the EU LCS last year as some of the very exciting teams we were looking at back in spring. Unicorns obviously made it all the way to the final, lost to Fnatic 3-2, very close series actually. And H2K took the third place that season. And I remember coming to summer then, we expected a lot from both teams, but Unicorns just kind of stopped. You know, they never really progressed. They became a very weird team to look at, where H2K just kept getting better and better. Very crisp in the macro game, as we talked about before, with Prolly as the coach. And now coming into this split, I feel like both teams have been getting better and better. And I think H2K is currently, we could say with Ryu in the lineup, probably the best team, but G2 obviously wants to fight for that one. And Unicorns are a solid third team in Europe right now.
I mean, that's the most surprising thing, right? Like, both these teams have been getting better and better as the split's been progressing, and with substitutions. Selfie in the mid lane, and have adapting. They've even looked better from week to week with Selfie coming into the mix. Rudy in the jungle, they've been plugging and playing junglers and still doing exceptionally well. So it's just amazing that you can actually make these playstyles work and get ahead. We're actually going to see a clash up here as Vander turns the corner. Hillesang's going to see him. Here comes the auto attacks, the piercing light. Should be able to stack this one up. There's the sun going down. Hillesang will take a tongue lick. Forgiven will capitalize on that as always, and Hillesang will have to back away. Another fast bomb on the way out. Very nice.
So what we see here is the invade we've seen quite a few times now. When you swap top lane with your dual lane, you invade into the enemy blue buff to either stop the jungle top laner from doing their buff and force them away, or you stop the enemy from doing the grump if they're here with their dual lane. Unicorns were ready for it. They've been doing their scouting, and they just wait around the corner. Actually end up losing the trade. I think they should just apply Q from Braum, land one hit from Steelback, and then back away. Just to win a small trade, and that's it. Over-chasing is not in your favor. And lane is dead even. There's no experience advantage for any team in terms of camps, because they were both setting up basically for the same thing.
Oh, let's touch on masteries though, because we just saw the Keystones coming in, and we literally just talked about the jungle masteries coming in.
Yep.
Keystones, both of them go for a Strength of the Ages, which is literally what we just
Every
said,
game.
and what you were saying this morning, Martin. And that just seems to be what every jungler is really trending towards.
It's just so good. You get so many free stats from it, and other Keystones like Thunderlords has been getting slowly nerfed a little bit. And just getting that flat HP is so important. Allows you to build a little bit more aggressive on certain junglers, or allow you to play more aggressive on the likes of Kindred, who is technically an AD carry, 300 HP, it's worth like 800 gold, just from a Keystone. And already early on, you get it stacked very quickly. Like Jankos at this point is already on 50 bonus HP, and he's now going to find Rudy in the river. They're both fighting for the same Rift Scuttler.
Well, they're both going to place down wards and see each other, but Jankos seems to get the advantage here. Rudy has not unburrowed, so he's still able to track him.
Well, Rudy has to back away, because if you look top, his lane is being pushed into tower, so he couldn't really get any assistance if needed. And therefore, Rudy backs away. Good for Jankos. Had the mark on it as well, and he can even stop Rudy from doing blue buff potentially.
Rudy, he drags into the bush, so he's cut the vision, and Jankos doesn't have a wall because he just used it to secure the crab, so Rudy will get away with this one, and Jankos will just take the experience from the small sentinels. He now has Vander coming in because, as you just mentioned, they have the top lane pushed, so the support is free to push up. Rudy will take a bit of damage. The flash out by Jankos, who's looking for another dive, but last week that didn't go so well for him, so he opts away from it this time.
Yeah, Jankos is super aggressive in the early game. He's going.
Just kidding, I'm going back in. He dodges the charm.
Now that is so risky. No flash with 4 minutes in between 2 towers.
It's the mind game though. It's like he would never go back in now without flash and as Kindred.
Sure.
I
like the fact that he values trading his flash for Rudy so highly that he went for that play in the first place. Because normally jungler would just have backed away and said, okay, let's not do anything risky here, and I have my flash, you have your flash, it's okay. But knowing when he flashes forward, he obviously can't one-shot Rudy. And he was just going to trade flashes, and he went for it.
So he made the play and it worked out. We'll have to see in the next 5 minutes while we have that timer ticking down whether that is the correct option. Additionally, because the junglers have gone through Strength for the Ages, they most likely take the Insight Mastery, so they actually have a low cooldown on Flash. So that's something to keep in mind. It will take it down by 45 seconds.
That's quite a lot.
Which is a lot of numbers.
But it's also very interesting to always look at how a team like H2K plays on the map, because the meta is all about finding one strong lane you can play around. Unicorns are doing exactly the same here. Their strong lane at this point is the bot lane where Chachi's winning. So Rudy goes bot lane to camp, to deny CS, to apply more pressure. Instead of going top lane, where his dual lane is currently being pushed back and it's very hard to set up a gank, you always look for the strongest lane. So H2K were playing top side because they were winning 2v2, and therefore Jankos could be aggressive and invade into the jungle. Rudy then goes bot side and says, okay, we will mirror. We're currently winning on the other side. And obviously Ryze having a great start. Fiora needs a little bit of time before she really wants to start being a bully against Ryze.
Additionally, because it is a ranged matchup and also it's Ryze, he can punch very hard when Odoamne goes for a CS.
Yeah.
So sometimes Odoamne may even just use his lunge to get in range and CS the minions from like maximum range and then back away. Otherwise, Chachi can punish with Rune Prison. Odoamne can try and read this with Riposte, but because Rune Prison is an instant spell, you have to predict and you can't do it on reaction. Chachi's actually going to find Jankos. He gets the Rune Prison down, and Rudy's now coming in as well. I don't think we're really going to see that much happening, or maybe we will, as Odoamne has the ultimate. He flashes, comes in with the lunge, and pops the Grand Challenge. Can he actually get these procs off? Rudy is so low, but he comes in with one last lunge to finish him off for first blood.
So H2K clearly are expecting Rudy to be very aggressive in the early game. They're stopping the recall from Chachi. Massive minion wave coming. I think Chachi's dead here.
Yeah, he's just dead. There's nothing he can do. Riposte comes out, and that's the safest dive you'll ever see. Or is it? Because Odoamne will launch away. The auto attack from the tower almost connected, but he's out.
So let's look at this entire early game strategy from H2K.
Or not, because Fox is getting engaged on. It's fine. He's safe. Unless he goes back in. Okay,
He's just poking me. Just wants to see if he can force him away before he's level 6 and push it out and then go back to base. But the bot lane here, I feel like this whole setup, it all starts with Jankos in the jungle, where on purpose, again, he's saying, I want to trade my flash for your flash. Because with Kindred, you have so much mobility anyway with jumping with your Q as long as you jump around your W there. So you have extra mobility, where Rek'Sai only has the tunnel to go forward. So once you get caught in a 1v1, 2v2 situation, Kindred can always abuse you for not having that flash. And then because Rudy's such an aggressive early jungler, because he's straight out of solo queue, he will obviously look for ganks. Jankos reads it, he finds him, and then they go aggressive instant, like, oh, I'm gonna just flash forward. So H2K very clearly said, we have a more mobile jungler, we can trade flashes, and we can look for you, and we can win that 1v1, 2v2, and use that to our advantage.
The crowd's getting very hyped over the fact they're winning by 6%. But yeah, H2K do win the fan vote.
Unicorns always have a lot of fans.
They do indeed, but being beaten out ever so slightly in this matchup. As a result of the discussion you were just having, that almost resulted in a 2-level differential as Rudy just picked up the red, and Jankos is going to see that now. So now he's level 5 versus Jankos is 6, but he has more experience in that level 6. So there is such a big experience difference between these two junglers because of the playstyle they've been running, and Jankos has been foiling Rudy at basically every turn.
Yeah, and this is such a problem for the Unicorns of Love, because it means every lane has to be a little bit more scared. When they're trying to push out, knowing there's a high chance of Kindred is always running around in your jungle behind you, and she is stronger than your jungler at the moment. So if you have a 2v2 fight, you should expect to lose it. And that makes you just play more passive, because you don't want to take these fights 1v1 without knowing where the enemy jungler can be. And right now, Jankos hasn't shown himself. He's sitting on red buff. So obviously not a threat, but we can see that Unicorns can't.
Yeah. Almost a 2-level difference. He'll level up to level 7 now, that being Chachi onto those minions. But Odoamne just had that 1 kill in the bottom lane, or I guess the 2. He was able to get that big lead after pushing all the minions into tower. That being said, he got the experience and not the minions, so the CS lead actually goes to Chachi.
Well, ever so slightly. Keep in mind, Odoamne was down like, what, 10-15 CS before the fight. Chachi will also get the wave here, try and get that lead back. But this was the first game Unicorns actually didn't get first blood. Every other game, they've gotten first blood. Analysts just talked about it. 7 of those games, it was the jungler who was part of that first blood. Rudy was looking for it, but H2K just read him like a book, traded that flash early, and they killed him. So really smart setup. And this is what I like about H2K. I feel like there's always a meaning behind what they're doing. I feel like they've planned it out. They're willing to take trades we normally don't see, because they think like a step further.
We've got Jankos coming down, but as we approach the 10-minute mark, Unicorns of Love have only been down 800 gold at maximum at 10 minutes, and this will be the biggest deficit for them in this game. And that statement is now true, with 1,500 gold advantage to H2K. So, definitely being challenged here, not only just the first bloods. Bot lane Chachi is safe now. We did see Jankos roaming down.
Yeah, he's constantly in the jungle, just looking for Rudy. It's all he wants to do is just find Rudy, allow his laners to play more aggressive, see if he can steal away more farm. Oh, it's also fantastic for Kindred if you can work in the enemy jungle, finding those stacks for yourself early on. Currently, Jankos is sitting on 2 stacks because he had Rudy marked from the start and he got that kill onto him. And it's looking good for H2K. Great start. Everything built around Jankos.
He's taking
and he's a crazy haircut.
Oh yeah, he didn't change it.
Nope. He's talking about it backstage, but apparently he didn't do it.
He's like, nah man, I can't go on stage like that. But he's going full Super Saiyan for this game.
And it's working so far.
It is. But yeah, that was a 3rd stack, I believe, because that was marked. So yeah, pretty good start. So Odoamne has picked up the Tiamat as the first item. It looks like he's going for the Ravenous Hydra route rather than Titanic first, instead of swapping once he reaches that. And then he'll jump up to Chachi here, actually get a lot of damage out. He's being grand challenged, tries to get against the wall, but Chachi will block it. Nice movement there.
Again, it's just because H2K constantly have so much vision in the enemy jungle. You start playing the game where if you don't see him on any of your wards in the jungle, you know basically exactly where he's supposed to be. So if you look now at your minimap, they can see around the Gromp and blue buff, they can see close to the wolf camp, they can see the raptor camp. When they don't spot Rudy in any of those, there's basically only one place he can be, and that's all the way down the bottom lane near the crooks, but there's double pink ward then in the river. H2K saw him now and pinged him, so they know, okay, Rudy's on top side. And they can really just constantly follow him around. Either you see him or you just know exactly where he's supposed to be because you didn't show on any of the wards. And that means Odoamne can just keep playing very aggressive bot lane. Because Rudy showed top and Jankos is coming down now, setting up a potential dive. Or if Rudy uses ulti down to defend this bot side, Jankos is there to attack him instantly.
Gonna clear out the ward. He may carry on going. Yeah, he's actually going around.
It is.
He clears out the tunnel though, so I actually will alert them to his presence. Yeah, and immediately Rudy reacts on a tunnel that's very near. So this could go very wrong, but he's sitting on a ward.
Yeah, I don't think Jankos knew there was another tunnel just behind. I think he just wanted to try and deny that one route to the bot lane and set up a potential dive. Because Auto Amna is strong enough to just go in with Jankos and pick up that kill. And I want to see, I think he's still going to go Titanic Hydra. He just wants, whatever that metal glove is called.
German's fist.
The fist.
The fist.
We'll go Revenant.
Garm's about to give, well, Jankos is about to try and get in on Fox here. Placing down more wards and looking for this camp. It's not actually marked, but he just wants to take it away. Trying to deny the razor shot maybe from Rudy, who is sitting right over the wall. That smites away, so he has the buff. And he gets away back into his jungle. Rudy will take his red buff here. So in Champions, like you were saying to Fisher, that you feel Chachi is like the lane for Unicorns of Love right now.
Yeah.
And that we had that initial lane swap from both teams. So do you feel like H2K have done enough in this game and will continue to put pressure on that lane? Or what does it need to do from here?
I mean, you just saw Jankos was on the bottom side when Oda Amner had an option to go for a dive. He was instantly there. With the wave, pressured Chachi, forcing Rudy to come down defensively, and Oda Amner can just keep going aggressive because they keep having vision on Jankos is here again now.
But now Rudy is again there to counter gang, and Jankos will just have to jump away. Odawan is taking a bunch of damage. Lamb's Respite is still available, but he doesn't really want to use it in this situation. Yet another flash from Odawan, the Prey Seeker, and maybe they can close in around him, with Fox looking to set up the trap from the sidelines. They've already backed off the flash. The Spirit Rush will take one down, and Jankos, there's nothing he can do to stay alive. Chachi will stay here. Chachi is a little bit low, but he's starting to vamp from his ultimate. That was a 1-for-2 trade. Rudy, his life for those 2 kills.
I really like the flash forward from Chachi here because he wanted to get that Kindred ulti out of the way. So by flashing forward, knowing, okay, I might not get the kill, I can force some cooldowns, allowing the Ahri then to roam from mid lane and pick up a very, very easy kill. But yes, H2K, they were doing the right thing. They kept playing around. Hold on, let him be aggressive. Let him try and duel with Chachi as much as possible. Issue this time was that the mid lane couldn't roam as fast for H2K as it could for the Unicorns of Love. So you see the trade. Look at Selfie here on your minimap. He's actually canceling his recall and then he's running back to the lane. And that's the opposite of what he actually wanted to do when this trade started. Because now Unicorns also feel very confident they can keep chasing. And just wait for Chachi. He knows Riposte is ready. He knows that Kindred has ulti. But he just wants them to use it. So now all the defensive tools are gone. And who shows up? An Assassin's picking up the easiest kill of her life.
You also saw the movement from Chachi, which was really sweet. He immediately used the Rune Prison, knowing that she would riposte, then backed away as he was using the animation. So even if he got stunned, he would have been either out of tower range or at the very edge of it. And as it was, Odawanle just misfired anyway, so it was a perfect play coming in from Chachi.
Oh,
Jankos may even be caught out. Hillisang locks him up, the Glacial Fissure. I don't think there's anything you can do about this. There's no Lamb's Respite. Vanda's too slow to the party, but maybe they can punish. Odawanle has immediately been exhausted. Fox is there from the back lines, and he'll be gobbled up by Vanda and will try to waddle to victory. He's so low, but will use this crab to jump away with the lunge and get the cooldown, the extra 60%. That was a nice pickup there, but no punish from H2K.
Unicorns are love getting a bit more confidence, adapting in game as well. They know Jankos is constantly looking toward in the jungle, and this time they were waiting for him. Jump him instantly, he had no flash. Don't even think he had ulti ready at that time. Ends up going down and giving a kill. Double TP use for both teams, so that will even out.
Oh, the reverse swing of the Orb Deception. Odawanle just straight up drops to Fox.
I like the small roams he's making around this mid lane here. Being the first one to leave, chasing out for another kill, opens up for Unicorns to push in. Selfie's there for wave flip, but he has to be careful.
Fox is looking for another drop here. Selfie will live to fight another day. Jankos is there this time with Lamb's Respite. Last time, he used it. That was one of the very few times Lamb's Respite does not save your life. When you're running away and will have to run out of that circle, not helpful. But here in the top lane, Forgiven, maybe one of the few times he would ever be caught, is going to be saved by Time Kench.
And we talked about, you know, playing around your strong lane earlier on in the game, and you can see how these teams are constantly changing the lanes they pressure. Because, again, there are certain times where one champion then gets a bit stronger, so like when the Ravenous Hydra was completed for Odo Amne, he had that early kill, he could be aggressive. That was now the strong lane for H2K, where bot lane was just kind of going even 2v2. But sometimes when you make the right play, see what happens here, actually Forgiven taking a lot of damage.
Just enough mana for Valkyrie.
Sometimes when you make the right play, the other team can then fairly easily predict the right play, because they would have done the same, and they keep talking about, you know, what's the next play they can make, what can we do, how do we counter it, and that's why Unicorns were ready down the bottom lane with Rudy, this time, saying, okay, he's gonna go aggressive on Fiora, be there for counter gank, roam from mid. That's how you get the kills.
Hey, that's what Rudy said in the interview, man. He was like, look, several steps ahead. And that's the team is already looking at these different scenarios that can happen. So Unicorns of Love are definitely already doing that. H2K, though, are responding in the top lane.
Got the package.
Got the tunnel.
I think they're just gonna pressure them, see if they can get them away from tower, maybe. What you can do so well with these ranged junglers we see a lot, like Nidalee, Graves, and Kindred, is you can just move them into a lane. You don't have to gank, you just move into the lane. You group up with the AD carry support, and you just push a tower. You just instant push down for
Oh, we're going in, boys.
Whoa,
Onto steal back, and he's going to have to kite away. Rudy is there, trying to block up some of the damage, but Vander's going to give him a lick here. Chachi will back away. Another rocket landing onto Rudy as he escapes. The poke just doesn't stop when it's forgiven time.
That surprised me, him just jumping forward. Suddenly Unicorn's like, oh, what's going on here? 3 guys turning around. H2K, get tower. It's a good move, adding in Yankers. They've been slowly chipping away in that tower over and over, and this is your reward, the Rift Herald. When there's nothing else to do on the map for like 20 seconds, and the other team can't punish you, you get your Rift Herald.
Doom's Eve. Over to Yankos. He'll get that enhanced recall. Look, Van even started before him, and he'll be back to base faster than him. Unreal.
And he will run faster.
Yeah, 40 movement speed is actually a lot. Chachi is good. And Oduwami will continue to back off. And despite all the action that's gone in the bottom lane, Chachi is still ahead in terms of farm, and is still able to duel Oduwami, or at least keep him at range. In an all-in, Oduwami may still get ahead, but then comes down to the Grand Challenge mechanics and whether Chachi can block one by standing against the wall. But,
yeah, and so much for Fiora. One of the reasons she becomes such a monster later on in the game is she can out-sustain almost anything in these 1v1s. Ryze is obviously very focused on being able to burst down in a short amount of seconds. So as long as Odoamne is tanky enough to survive that initial burst, he can then lifesteal back. And then the Ryze can't really kill the Fiora, but for now it is still possible for Chachi. You just always have to be so careful, because as you said, Room Present gets blocked or whatever, and Odoamne gets onto you. The damage from Fiora is so high against a no tanky, or no armor.
No tanky.
No tanky Ryze. No tanky items on a Ryze.
Yep.
He is very squishy. And we see Yankers continue to run with Forgiven. This is something H2K does so often. You play 3 lanes at once, and then the objective is again, find the lane where you can make a play.
Here's the one-on-one.
Odoamne's there.
Out of the way.
Oh,
so ticking
close.
down. Oduwami's still alive. Fox wants him, but he's simply not in range, and Oduwami will walk all the way back to base. Make sure he won't recall in a place he might get smite.
Really is a problem for H2K that they had Fiora falling behind now due to the counter gank from Unicorns. Because Odoamne is supposed to be the guy sitting and putting pressure in his lane. And then Yankers is supposed to running with Forgiven to have a strong 3-man group with double range that can push towers. Always chip away in these side lane turrets. Does get shut down a bit, because once Odoamne is forced back to base, the entire 1-3-1 kind of breaks. H2K has to push back or move back a little bit, and then wait for Odoamne to return to his lane and push it out.
Hillsang teleporting back to base. 2 kills currently on Fox. Most of those have just been from him making plays.
He's just been roaming.
Yeah, he's just been roaming about, getting the one-on-one kills. And as we approach the mid game, with these 2 compositions in mind, what are the objectives for both of the teams? How do you think they're going to play out the next couple of minutes?
Well, that's going to be the super awesome thing, because H2K, when you have a Victor, you keep him mid lane. The member going mid for Unicorns of Love is going to be the Lucian. But then you have this side lane fight that we're going to see over and over and over, where Unicorns of Love will have a Chachi with TP and then an Assassin. So that's a very explosive side lanes they have where they can kill people. Where H2K is more looking to move Forgiven around to chip on towers, not to necessarily try and fight someone 1v1. So H2K is looking to take control over 2 lanes, basically. And then have Odoamne sit in the other lane with TP, and he can always join in. And then you can apply pressure on towers. Selfie just wave clears mid. That's basically his job. Just wave clear mid 24/7. While Unicorns are looking to make kills, they're looking to create plays with the Ahri, with Chachi on this Ryze. So we will see H2K try and predict where's the pick gonna happen. Can we then react to it in time, take something on the other side of the map, or maybe have multiple members there and surprise you? Or can Unicorns find that one pick? Because if they get 1 kill in a side lane, all the lanes start breaking, and then suddenly Unicorns can keep pushing the lanes up and apply pressure on at least 1 tower.
the whole plan collapses. And so far, Fox has done a very good job of that, so that's a very real possibility. And of course, Chachi will just start scaling up more and more as we get into the late game. He's already sitting on that Rod of Ages and also into the tier, so most likely going for his next big item here on top of that.
I like this play though from H2K. Again, it's all about moving Forgiven around and get him in a lane where he can hit a tower. Mid tower is the only one now available as a tier 1 he can hit. That's why they move him in. Jankos is here again, guys. Remember this. When it is a 1-3-1, you do not need the 3 to be in mid lane or top lane.
Oh, here comes the one. Chachi! And one Vital was popped by Odoamne. He just got blown up in the one-on-one.
This is what we talked about, you know? Unicorns have the side lanes that want to kill people. H2K want to focus on towers. And now Unicorns gotta kill. That's a tower. So someone has to go bot lane now for H2K to defend the next turret. But if you do that, suddenly Unicorns can either push top or mid tower. So this is a problem for H2K no matter what. Odoamne is dead for another 20 seconds. This tower is going to take quite some damage from Chachi. Sadly, no wave for him is coming. And then everything breaks for H2K. They're forced really far back on the map suddenly to sit at their own tier 1 towers. They're trying to make a play on Chachi now.
They try to make it happen. There comes the exhaust, and Chachi, all of his damage, or a lot of it is being mitigated. There's the Lamtress by Vander. Will pick him up, try and spit him outside of the circle. But Rudy's there with the knockup and comes in with the one-on-one. Now Rudy there's 1-on-2. I don't think there's much he can do apart from knock up Jankos and run for his life. But Vander, if he gets one lick, he'll be able to lock him down. But not today. Tries to get the Void Rush, but he takes some damage. That's not how it works. And there's another lick coming in from Vander to keep him in place, so Jankos can pick up the kill. Ultimately a 2-for-1, and H2K, they stick to play.
It was a 2-for-1, but look here in the mid lane, Steelback took down a mid tower. So definitely a win for Unicorns of Love. They got bot tower, an early kill. So we're gonna see the move now for H2K. This is what happens when this 1-3-1 for you breaks. The other split pushing team gets a kill, so you have to send guys down to defend. They make a play on Chachi, but if you look at your minimap now, the rest of Unicorns of Love is just running straight for mid tower. Selfie isn't there to wave clear, so it's an easy one for them. Despite getting 2 kills, you take a mid tower. Definitely worth it for the Unicorns of Love. And it's all built around Visit Chachi, solo killing Odoamne, and Baron is being started by H2K.
And it's almost down. It is down. Completely uncontested as we see this replay completely roll out.
How did they just get a free Baron there?
Well, maybe they can pick up Vander and take it off one member, or not. He escapes as well. Everyone just escapes, and H2K, I guess they just ran at it.
Well, they had 2 kills. Chachi was actually dead for 46 seconds. So again, we end the mid game with the longer death timers. You get really punished if you do die. I guess H2K honestly just rushed straight towards the Baron after picking up the 2 kills, saying, okay, you get mid tower, we can take the Baron. And they pick it up. 40 seconds on Rudy as well when he died. These long death timers in the mid game make it super, super risky.
Yeah. It's very difficult to CSI the crime scene as well because they didn't really leave any fingerprints, so they just kind of got their Baron left. Huh. Unicorns of Love, though, are about 1,000 gold behind, but it's just down to what H2K do with his Baron, how much they get off the power play, because this could be the big swing in the game. Fox almost gets locked up here by Vander as he's chasing after. Jankos may be able to seal the deal, though. There's a laser coming out. Wolf comes in over the wall, but Kindred unable to finish him off. Fox gets away with his life and still has Flash and Ignite.
And everything can change so quickly. It looked really good for Unicorns of Love, but the 3 members were apparently not able to actually punish H2K or pressure them at all around that Baron. And suddenly it actually pays off for H2K picking up those 2 kills and just rushing straight over there.
Destroyed.
Interesting turn of events. And now they can just keep pushing down. You got Corki, you have Kindred, you have a lot of damage on these towers.
Well, it's still a real heads-up call to be like, well, we got 2 picks and lost 1 for it. Let's immediately go for Baron at like 25 minutes.
45 seconds death timers. Because Chachi also was very high level, obviously for sitting in that side lane very early. I guess normal level for... He wasn't denying anything.
Chaos Storm. Almost enough there. Selfie will get charmed into Fox. Steelback taking a bit of damage from Jankos off to the side. H2K's front line is tanky enough to take the hits as they take down the tower. And currently, H2K, after all of that, just are now leading in terms of turrets and dragons and gold.
It's been a very good Baron for H2K. Getting the gold from the Baron itself. Pick up 3 towers as well, 2 in the mid lane, 1 in the bottom lane. If I believe correct, actually 2 in the mid lane it was, I believe, only. Still a lot of gold for them. Another dragon. And most importantly, they stopped the bleeding. because they were the ones losing side lanes. Chachi solo killing Odo Amne. And that kind of gets completely nullified with that Baron play from H2K.
Really big. It's definitely stopped some of the weaknesses, as you just mentioned, and won those side lanes, but also gave them some time to carry on itemizing, get over that kind of window where you're weaker than your opponent. Now Forgiven is sitting on 2.5 items, so is the top laner of Odoame.
This has still really been a game so much about the two junglers, especially how Jankos could use Kindred and the extra mobilities, as we talked about earlier, trade flashes early on, then look for that 2v2 fight, always group up with Forgiven and poke down on towers. He's been part of taking top tower, bot tower, like Jankos has been everywhere, honestly, in this game. 100% kill participation, picked up 4 kills as well himself. Right now, he's the man for H2K, and he's going for the top lane.
Odoame though, and it's 1-on-1. There's the Lamb's Respite, maybe the most annoying spell in the game, and Fox, will he be able to get a kill and return the flash after? And the grand challenge, he's got Grievous Runes, so he'll take a little less damage here. We really will have to back away. Chaos Storm comes out, Steelback will take a bit of punishment. Hylissang comes into the mix, and so does Chachi. He's right in the middle of the fray, but he does not get anyone down. He's just CC to high heavens, and he can't do anything. A 2-for-0, and the top tower, and the recall coming out. Odoame has teleport just coming up. Everything is coming up gravy for H2K.
And it looked really good for Unicorns of Love, but now everything is just falling apart with that Baron going down here. The lanes are being pressured. Jankos is moving between. You should never fight in that 1v1 situation because you know backup from H2K is nearby. I just want to see this again because I think Odoame actually flashed out the return from the orb coming in from the Ahri, like the Q on the way back, and he survived because of it.
And that's the true damage, so most of it comes from that. Hylissang trying to block some of the damage from the tower, but he's taking so much damage from H2K as he just pounds away at the shield. Quickly breaking, not unbreakable anymore. Now he goes back to base.
So little Unicorns can do now that Corki, Victor, and Kindred are able to group. So let's see it again. This is the 1v1, which you cannot take because you have no control of your own jungle. So you should know the enemy is coming. Let's see where the Q is coming. Did actually flash on the other side of it. Probably would have survived anyway because he got the heal.
Yeah. Additionally, by flashing behind him, he got another proc of Vital, so he gave another seconds of healing. Yeah, correct.
The heal coming very quick. So good flash from Odoame. But overall, just a fight that Unicorn should never have picked in the first place. But right now, they've just lost so much anyway. It's looking very, very difficult. Because imagine before, when a Victor has to run to a side lane to defend against an Ahri, it's a great lane for Unicorns to play around. They can set up a play there easy. But that again is completely gone. It happened 5-6 minutes ago. Ever since H2K has just been getting more and more gold. 7 towers to 3.
Actually ridiculous. I actually wonder what the Baron power play is, if we can get that at some point, because that was one of the biggest swings I've seen in the game for a while. Off just something that you wouldn't expect to be converted into a Baron. Just so well played by H2K.
Again, it's easy to forget the death time.
Yeah, that ripple effect was really insane.
Especially when 2 guys went down. Now, Baron is up in 1 minute. It is a spectator bug that we don't have the Dragon and Baron timer. The players can see it, but we just cannot. So about 50 seconds from now, Baron will respawn, meaning H2K can decide to just chill, set up for Baron, play around that one, either force a fight and take the Baron, or just force a fight and get the fight, or you just take the Baron for free. You don't have to overcommit to anything right now.
Unforgiven takes a tiny bit of hope from Steelback, and Tam Kent just got his back. So, or their back, I guess he's riding Earth. Jankos going to be coming in here.
Yeah, and I think Unicorns will really struggle to win team fights. I know obviously they're very far behind in gold, but even if it was even in gold, just judging from the fact that Vander is here. So again, which target Ahri picks will get eaten by Vander, and you remove so much of that assassination potential, allowing Selfie then to be a stronger team fighting mage. Corki is so extremely strong at this point as well. It just becomes very difficult for Unicorns of Love then to pick off a target. Because Odoame is just going to keep sitting in the side lane here and just being as annoying as possible.
Now H2K with 3 members chasing after Chachi. Pops the ultimate for the extra movement speed.
Fine time.
But yeah, what can the rest of his team do with it? They're going towards the Baron area. Only Jankos is there, but unfortunately the Scuttler has been taken.
Just ran back?
Wow, how did that even happen? Benny Hill commenced the music, ladies and gentlemen. Chachi's still trying to escape. How's the Seraph?
Baron is being started now by Unicorns.
Can you get him? He flashed forwards for it.
Chachi's out alive. Baron is being started. H2K is coming now, but Forgiven is very far away. Just commit to the Baron now. Do not jump out this pit. Just commit to that Baron.
Pop ultimate. They've jumped off Baron and now everyone's closing in. I'm not even sure Unicorns win this fight, but they kill Jankos before the fight really starts. Rudy has been grand challenged. Odowane struggling to get a rain, but he has the heal. Steelback cut off from the pack and he'll go down. The play was there, Martin. No.
I know it could have been a 50-50 smite, but if you disengage against a Kindred with an ulti, you buy time for the rest of H2K to then come up and stop you. You just have to take that one. You are almost 10,000 gold behind.
Yeah. The 50% is better than the 100% loss rate when you go for the fight.
You're good at math, Paul. So
Thank you, Martin. Comes from the heritage. But now Chachi is trying to take away these minions. Hillisang trying to block some of this up for Fox. Now H2K will be backing away. I think this should be any of those aggressions. Dragon has just spawned. That'll be the third of the game for H2K. Remember, the changes have not yet come on. That is 6-3, where they have some nice extra juicy stats. But in this current one, you're only really looking at aspect for it to be useful. But they're going to see that last trade happen.
The only person who should go out here is Hillisang. Just go out, use your ulti and Jankos, and try and zone him off the Baron. The rest can finish it. Otherwise, you will lose the fight no matter what.
Yep.
Chachi had just gone back to base, so he was like trying to be ready with his teleport. But this time his team's been tanking Baron, they're fighting around it as well. It's a tricky one in game, because like these calls are made split second. You know, do we finish? Do we try and kill the enemy jungler? Problem is, when you are this far behind, sometimes you've got to take a chance.
Well, Unicorns of Love, they saw the option. Rings didn't take it. Oh, Chachi being jumped on here by Odowane. Maybe they can get a pick and return. Hillisang comes out and they get the shutdown. This will be a 5 versus 4 on Chachi. He's down to 50%, but the big burst to take him out is kind of away. Selfie's the only one who can really do it now. And Jankos, with the rest of the teams being zoned away from this middle tower.
What the hell was that from Odowane?
IDK.
He's like obviously full damage. Just jumps forward, not knowing where Unicorns are. And Chachi's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna snare you, and then my team is gonna kill you. And now we can go Baron again. You have 30 seconds on Odowane. He has TP ready. But again,
should they commit?
Use Hillisang to zone. Rest can commit then. But if they want to take a 50-50 now...
Oh, Hillisang's taking so much damage, and Vander's going forward. Selfie looking for the right place to ultimate. Rudy is going to jump out of the pit as well. The storm has already been used, and now H2K will actually turn around to the Baron. Oh, what is this? What's going on?
TP. He's up in
Fox jumps over, but he's gravity field, and he's being stunned out. Chachi jumps into the fight. Vander's dropping low. Here comes the Greyhound. Odowane's still alive. Lazarus fight is keeping everyone alive from H2K, but now it's down. Unicorns are low. They're closing in on Odowane. He's almost dead again, but Vander can't save him. They'll go 3 for 1. Forgiven and Jankos backing away, and now maybe they can secure the Baron. Maybe.
A lot of split decisions again for Unicorns. Now they actually committed to the Baron and allowed H2K to move very close. And Force Steelback is going aggressive.
Oh, the cutting, the flash. He changed the position. Steelback coming up big.
That's a Baron now for Unicorns of Love. This game has gone crazy.
What am I watching?
I mean, so entertaining to watch Unicorns trying to make these decisions around the Baron. This time they actually commit to Baron itself instead of trying to jump on H2K. They still take it down so slow because they lack the damage from their mid laner at the same time. So now they're setting up for a fight, but also Baron at the same time. Actually allowing H2K to move in and push them off. And now Odowane is there with TP. That's why H2K wants to fight. And then flash charm onto Selfie. Good damage. Vander hasn't eaten anyone yet. There we go, he gets one. And we just see Unicorns just jumping in. Actually, looking at this, Odowane came in very late. And also, Chachi is going to be able to have more of an impact on this rise. So as long as Unicorns don't commit everything onto one target that Vander can eat, and they can play the fights like this. But Odowane, very late TP for him. I think he had to see if the fight was actually happening or not.
Well, it did.
It did happen.
And he lost
and he came in and he died.
Yeah. Stats Guru, Spellsy, has just informed me that Chachi dealt 5k damage in that last fight. He was literally just standing in the middle of everyone and just chaining spells off on all of H2K. And that was fairly grouped up as well, so you're probably taking the AoE from the ultimate. But yeah, the most damage in the fight coming in for Chachi. And he was the lane we were looking at, and the guy you mentioned in Champion Select, he has definitely turned up this game. I was so excited to cast this one, I knew it was going to be good. I didn't know it was going to be this good with so many swings.
So many back and forth from both teams. We've seen some good decisions, we've seen some bad decisions.
Well, we've seen capitalizing on those bad decisions
as well.
That's very
true. That is very true. We get a lot of good fights.
Yeah, one of the concepts I've kind of been looking at is whether a team can catch a throw. We look at throws all the time, but can they actually catch it? And both the teams have been very good at capitalizing on those mistakes. So that really is one of the things that determines a good team, or defines one rather. H2K also just defended that push, as we saw on screen. Unicorns are unable to break that shell. That is those inhibitor turrets, but maybe they'll be more successful on those inner turrets in mid lane and top lane.
And because they were so far behind, this Baron, combined with the towers they've now picked up, evens out the gold. So it's super, super close, almost 40 minutes in. It's very rare we see the goal being this even between two teams. And then it comes down to like that one big team fight. Does anyone make a mistake? You know, Vander eats the wrong target and then one of his members dies, or does Chachi try and flash in and then he gets CC'd and goes down instantly because yes, he has a QSS, yes, he's gonna have the shield from his Seraphs. Late game still, against like a Victor, the Corki Burst, there's enough damage on the side of H2K to pop any target on the Unicorns of Love. So we're gonna have these very, very interesting team fights where we might see someone being afraid to commit, which can actually lose you the game, because if you have that opening where you can catch out someone, you gotta take it. So that's the tricky thing. That's why it's so fun being a caster and a viewer, because we can just sit here and judge the players.
Like, we have all the information.
We don't
you should have done this, man.
Yeah,
Why didn't you do it?
We don't have to do it in the heat of the moment.
Yep. Yeah, the players, the only information they have comes in from the vision and what they've determined and deduced from the last location of their opponents, etc. And currently, H2K have a lot of those wards within their jungle. There is top lane pushing. They don't even have ZZ Rock, so that was just set up by themselves. The manual way.
That one we'll talk about, hopefully, in some games later, the ZZ Rod. New interesting item, not a new item actually, but item we see more and more in solo queue when we've been looking at a lot of the accounts, what people are using. Highest win rate champion in the game is Udyr, jungle with ZZ Rod portal.
Yep, we were opening some gates yesterday.
It was fantastic.
It was. Indeed. We will touch on that later, however, if we get ZZ Rock picked up.
Hopefully someone wants to build it. Not in this game. Arise isn't going to build it. Odamne is not going to build it.
That's what you think. But no, Unicorns of Love are just trying to get something done. They take down the inner turrets in the middle lane. They have one left in the top lane, but it's just trying to crack the base is the hardest thing.
They're just waiting for this massive wave on top to hit the tier 2 tower and then rotate up through the jungle and get some damage on the tower. At this point here, these tier 2 towers and tier 3 ones, they go down super, super quickly. But you need those minions to like, it's about 5 waves on top side from Unicorns. So there's a fight bot lane.
Chachi is getting shredded up by Odawarme, taking so much damage, but he's actually turning it around. Now the heal comes out and Rudy is a little too late to save his ally. The true damage, and Odawarme gradually slicing away at this Void Beast, and down goes Rek'Sai, the double kill in for Odawarme.
We got the big wave top here, so Unicorns trying to get a tower for the 2 kills, but this should buy enough time for H2K to stop Unicorns from pushing any further than this and give them some map control, because again, you got 40 seconds now to make something happen if you are H2K. Dragon is up in a minute. I don't think any team really care about it because we only have 2 dragons at max for H2K, so it's going to be a really long game if you go 5 dragons here. But instead, I mean, you have 2 open inhibitors in the base. Bot lane tower, Odamne can take that one down super quick. 25 seconds on Chachi and Rudy combined. H2K will be able to crack open the base again.
Vander pushing in the mid lane, trying to take away some of these open inhibitors. And this is the big counterplay we could see coming in. 9 seconds left on Chachi, another 10 on Rudy. Steal back, cannot afford to go down here. Odawarme, grand challenge, maybe they can get the burst up, but Jankos, has he gone a little too deep? We'll see in a second. Odawarme now chasing after steal back, and Jankos will be backing away, still with Landra's bite in hand, but Chachi is back from base. The overextension, the overstay from H2K, he's being rapidly punished. Chachi trying to get in range for a Rune Prison. Gravity Field will stymie that just a little. Rudy, there's no slow from Prey Seeker, and Chachi is still trying desperately, but H2K are ultimately away.
So H2K get to disengage. They got 1 inhib down. Gave up a kill for it. Baron is a minute now. It's constantly going to update you guys because it's so important late game with this Baron when it spawns and it's easy to lose track of the time.
Yeah, give me the constant updates.
So, okay, I'm going to say like 50 seconds now.
0.4 seconds, yeah.
Odo Amne is going to be alive for it. So literally he died at the best time ever. Just in time to respawn with teleport and be ready for Baron. But it does mean Unicorns can set up vision around it. You see Rudy get a ward around the red buff. He should get one near the Raptor as well here. And then you start having enough control of the enemy jungle to see when H2K moving in. But give it to a massive chunk of damage there.
Yeah, there's also triple blue wards available from Unicorns of Love, so even if H2K starts it, which actually Unicorns are going straight forward, they're going to rush it as soon as it spawns. All of these tunnel options for Rudy.
There's no vision, and 3 guys are sitting mid, kind of telling H2K, oh, we're not on Baron. No, we definitely didn't start Baron at all.
Where's the jungler?
And trying to pressure them to not walk in here and stop it. Odo Amne has TP, he's coming in now.
Chachi may be caught up here, he'll jump to an ally. Steelback is caught up, and Jankos, he's trying to finish him up. He's there with Odo Amne, he's been challenged. One more sweep with the Rapier, and he goes down. Rudy tries to save his ally, but he's too late again. That's a 2-4-1. H2K now closing in on the base. The recalls are coming in from Unicorns of Love.
This might be game, Pulse, because there's no AD carry now. At least Baron, then
that's
game,
smart.
you know? Let's see.
So they just recalled. Unicorns of Love moved away from the Baron, and H2K instantly swap up, move towards the Baron. They should be able to take it because they now have the positioning.
Yeah, HK still had 1 dead member, that's why they couldn't finish. I got a little bit ahead of myself here. I'm just calling what's gonna happen in like, 3 minutes time or whatever with the Baron.
Running the profit
Maybe. I think in this game it's impossible to say right now. So many back and forth. It's fun though we saw with Odo Amne in that side lane where he killed Chachi. It's what we talked about earlier. Once you get enough sustain and tankiness on their Fiora where you can survive the burst from Ryze, you will just start out-sustaining him in the 1v1. That's exactly what happened. He picked up that kill. That's what allowed H2K to get inhib. He then died in time to actually respawn for Baron just when it respawned itself, and then he could join in. But Unicorns, every time they've gone Baron, it's been super, super risky. And I want to say it's been fairly poor shot calling around the Baron itself. Because it's been a lot of like, do we commit to the Baron? Do we disengage? What do we do if H2K moves in? Like the last one here where Steelback is suddenly running in from mid lane. Completely split up from his team late game, and H2K just jumps him instantly. You can't escape from Fiora, man. The cooldown is so low. She would just constantly chase you.
So in that last Baron, similar to the first one we saw, do you think Unicorns of Love should have just committed and then have H2K maybe go for the 50-50, but maybe it's more swayed over to Unicorns of Love? They probably had a better chance of getting it because the reaction time for H2K was fairly small. They placed the ward over when it was at 4,000 health.
So this one, because it was on 4k HP and Steelback wasn't there, I actually don't think they could have committed for it and they should just have backed away. But that's why you then as a team, you just back away and say, okay, we tried. The trick, it didn't work. Let's just disengage it and not take a team fight where we completely split up from the start. So that was the problem for them. They kind of first wanted to trick the Baron. That got spotted by H2K and then they committed to the fight when they weren't in position to actually fight because obviously the AD carry was on the other side of the map basically.
Man, Rudy has only died twice up until this game. Alright, he's only played 2 games, but he's died 7 times in this game. Most of them have been trying to save his allies, but sometimes they were the incorrect call. But you can just see how messy this game has been for both teams, just based off their previous track records against other teams. Really exciting to see these 2 guys go head-to-head on the final day before everything resets and the teams play each other again.
Yeah, both teams have a very, very interesting weekend where H2K are playing G2 tomorrow for first place. We would assume if H2K are able to finish this game. And then, obviously, Unicorns of Love take on Fnatic, who they're trying to keep under them in the standings because Unicorns want to stay as a top 3 team for sure. So very, very tough opponents for both teams this week. And let's see what happens here. Hylissang onto Selfie. He's very far forward.
Fox jumps in, very aggressive with Spirit Rush. He still has to use these charges to make something happen. Rudy, not sure if that was the best decision. Chachi coming in from the side of the flank. Maybe it's enough damage, but he has to back away. Odo Amne wants him dead. Grand challenge, there it is. Popped off. Chachi is down for 70 seconds. And Fox may also be falling here. He'll back to base. H2K, this is looking very good for them.
And we saw almost everything in that last fight we have talked about already in this game. How they're trying to catch one target from the Unicorns of Love, but then Vander denies it. He eats Selfie, so he stays alive. And then Chachi tries to go aggressive. He's not tanky enough as a Ryze. And H2K can focus him down in time and kill him. 2 inhibs gone. Nexus turrets are still alive. This bot lane tier 2 tower is still standing there laughing at H2K. Odoamne might find Rudy here.
Literally just walks up to him. Bracy, because it's like, I see you. Odoamne has to back off, but we'll take the red buff. So Unicorns of Love are making sure that H2K do not get everything from this play, pushing them all the way back.
It's the Rift Scuttle they're going to fight over.
Yeah.
H2K got it.
15 seconds left on Chachi. He's got the teleport. This might be a punish for Unicorns of Love based on the death timers. Selfie actually does not get hit up by the charm there, and Jankos will finish off the mid laner of Fox. Forgiven coming out. Odoamne is back into the fight before Chachi. Everyone is going down. Hillisang and Rudy are backing away. Here comes the teleport. Is it too little? Is it too late? It is. And Jankos will be coming in here. Odoamne jumping over the wall, and that will be the tunnel from Rudy. He's even going to go back to base with the Void Rush. 3 for 2 overall. The idea was there, but the timing was off.
Yeah, Unicorns wanted to just keep chasing and then have Chachi TP in, hopefully behind H2K with home guards, because Selfie was low. Everyone was kind of hurt after that fight, but ended up trading very early. And then Odoamne is able to TP in himself. He's become very, very strong on this Fiora here in the late game in every single fight. And now they're pushing out double super minions. Chachi is there to try and defend.
Oh, he's got the AoE and you get stunned down. There's the QSS. Rudy, unfortunately, it's not Town Kent, but all these people going out of here with the Zhonya's coming up. Odoamne is underneath this tower. Rudy is going to get finished off. There's the Grand Challenge heal. There's enough to keep him alive. Fox is coming up in 7, but it's not soon enough. H2K's Jankos and Odoamne close in on Unicorns of Love's Nexus, and they'll be taking it down. They take the victory.
And H2K, currently the #1 team in Europe. G2 is playing later today against Vitality. See if they can match the score of H2K. But this game, a bit like the games we saw last week from H2K, where it's not because of Selfie, but it's because they don't have Rio, who's such a big voice for this team. It becomes very back and forth between them.
Go. H2-1, H2K, H2-1, H2K, H2-1, H2K.
H2K in high spirits there. And after a pretty difficult win, but also a very difficult loss for the Unicorns of Love. You can see their faces there, but it was hard fought on both sides.
Yeah, really a game where both teams try to force a lot of mistakes on each other and then punish them right after, but also a game where I feel Unicorns will go in and they will look at this often around the Baron. They will keep looking at multiple Barons. Like, could we have done something better here? Could we have been more decisive? Should we have disengaged? Whatever it is. Because there were multiple times where we had the deciding fights around it. But then we also got to see late game, despite having a late game rise and Unicorns having a good overall composition. When you're against a Tahm Kench, it is just so hard to play these single target focused compositions because it's so easy to deny it. And also with defensive items coming, QSS for Forgiven, BT in there, obviously Odoamne, after going very squishy in the start, he gets Steric's Gauge and so on. Like, you become very, very tanky, and it's very difficult then for an Ahri to take you down, or even a Lucian who's not getting buffed up by anything late game. And that's what went wrong for Unicorns in the last team fights. But up until that point, it was...
Yeah.
Both teams had moments where they looked to win the game. But then both teams actually made mistakes that got punished. And in the end, though, H2K, with the better late game team fighting, take the win.
Yeah, I mean, it was ultimately, one on the team fights, but also on the choices they were making. And it was really interesting, taking a step back for how intensive the game was and just looking at it on a very broad sense. That was really well played from both teams. They made really good decisions. Then when you look at the Baron, though, it was very obvious what the Unicorns of Love need to look at. And at that time, it's very, as you mentioned, even in-game, snap decisions, right? It's do we disengage? Do we actually commit in this one? And it's very easy to make that mistake or make the wrong call or something that could turn into the right call, right? Like turning around after going in on the Baron and actually winning that fight, that could have gone differently. And then it comes down to the team fighting you're talking about late game. So there's so many different angles you can take a look at this game, but it was fun to watch, for sure, at least for us.
I like to look at these Spring Split games and look at, are the teams doing the correct move more than are they executing it correctly? But yeah, entertaining game, obviously, between these two teams. Congrats to H2K.
Well, we're going to get more insight as we throw it on stage with Pyrotechnics, who's going to look into H2K's win.
Thank you very much, Pulse. I am joined by the jungler from H2K, Jankos. H2 what?
H2K.
Very fantastic win today. So, you focused a lot on Rudy. You were able to shut him down constantly. So much pressure against that team. You were involved in almost every engage, 90% kill participation. How did you pull that off against the Unicorn's new jungler?
Well, I think like it's kind of easy against Rudy because I don't consider him like LCS material yet, at least. So I think I was just super confident going into him. And also the matchup helps me. Like, in my opinion, there is no like aggressive play and passive play. In my opinion, there's only the right play. And the right play in this matchup is to actually invade constantly, especially when my lanes are pushing and have pressure, and just try to outplay him, you know? And if my lanes see him, they can even play more aggressive and like punish opponents. So I think we did pretty good early game, but then we did a lot of mistakes still, but yeah.
Well, a lot of mistakes, but you did manage to come out on top, and that hyper-aggressive style definitely paid off. Now, looking ahead, you'll have G2 Esports. You already beat them once, but this game, once again, is going to be pretty much for the top of the table unless G2 loses today. How do you think that one's going to go down?
Oh, I think it's going to be really hard. I think, like last time, we won just because they had really bad like pick and ban phase. Like they had Udyr and Zed. I don't know what happened there, you know. But this time, I think they'll pick like way better champions, and it's going to be like way harder as well. I think we can win, yeah. But I would say it's like 50-50, you know. I think we can win, but they are super good, and it's totally different than Unicorns, you know. And especially Trig, like he's so much better than Rudy. So it's like, yeah, it's super different.
It definitely will be a different game. Okay, last question here for you. Are you going to be first blooding Trick?
I hope so.
There we go. Thanks again for joining me, Jankos, and we will send it back to the analyst desk to break down that incredible slugfest of a game.
Well, Jankos had a lot to say about Rudy in that matchup, and going off the beginning of the game, it was justified.
Yeah, I think Jankos has got to play some fantastic double jungle games with Rudy in solo queue. And
let's take a look at this replay, because this is the early game what Jankos was talking about, and specifically aimed at shutting him down.
Yeah, like I think Jankos really played fantastically the early game. Like he really knows his champion strengths and weaknesses, and Rudy was just like all game reacting to Jankos and not really getting to do anything by himself.
Yeah, I mean, it's even to the point where Jankos, this is as the confidence and almost disrespect. I actually think after those comments, it looks like disrespect just from the way that he's going forward. He's saying to Rudy, you have to back away in all of these situations because you can't account for everything we have. And this is just Jankos and Odoamne working well together in the early game. I feel like this confidence early game did set up H2K a little bit for their downfall, as we started to see here in these plays.
Yeah, and I think at this point, Jankos thought he was playing a bit of jungle jinx, because after getting a kill, he got a bit excited and then started doing a bit over-aggressive invades, but it still fantastically played.
Well, yeah, fantastically played in the early game, and UOL does manage to get back in the game, and we wanted to take a look at a second phase that was very interesting. The Barons back-to-back, where the Unicorns of Love not seem to make the right decisions. In this case, as a Season 1 World Champion jungler, what should they have done?
Yeah, I mean, they see Jankos coming in and they're like, oh my god, go on Jankos, he's gonna steal the Baron, but then in the end it cost them everything, and it was just a terrible call, but in the end I think if they went for the 50-50 it would have been beneficial for them.
I think so as well. I heard Deficio talking about how, you know, you just send Hylissang forward, he takes time, otherwise you're baited into a fight, and honestly Unicorns got baited into too many fights overall.
But it's successful in this one.
They were successful in some, just from the sheer power that like the Ryze will have if he doesn't take a lot of damage up front. The problem is they were going in to save one member all the time. That's why Rudy had a lot of deaths. Chachi was ending up getting picked off because he's just trying to compensate for the rest of the team. Here, Chachi is so healthy in this situation. All he's got to do is maneuver around, deal a little bit of damage. The rest of his team have damage to follow up.
Cyanide just said, pentakill waiting to happen.
Yeah, it really looked like someone was going to get a penta here, but no one dashed in. I mean, if I was Lucian, I would definitely dash in here and either instantly die or get a penta.
It's funny though, as we were going into this game, we were talking about this could be a macro game. Everything could be map plays, lane swaps, advantages, tower pushing. We didn't really get
until
that.
like 10-15 minutes, I'd say. Clear plan from H2K.
Clear plan from H2K. That was very much so the direction is. H2K said, we're going into the jungle, going very aggressive, and we'll take it. But when it came to a tower pushing game, the game never got to that stage. Victor neutralized a lot of it, and the Unicorns were in a situation where they were like, what do we do? Let's either try and get a pick on a side lane or go for Baron, and it kept backfiring on them.
Yeah, exactly. Like Unicorns could not siege because of their comps involved, and then the only way really for them to win the game is to split push and then try to get the Baron, and that's why it was so chaotic, because they knew they have to get the Baron, and they kept going for it, and the execution was, well, not that great at times.
And in the end, H2K capitalizing on that strong early game and booking a win here. We're going to step away as Fnatic and Elements take to the stage for our next match. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Your face is trash.
Yeah. My face and my hair.
Also your belly.
That's so stupid.
Pop the grand challenge. Can he actually get these procs off? Rudy is so low, but he comes in with one last lunge to finish him off for first blood.
Package.
They don't have TP, we don't know Rek'Sai.
Go!
Rek'Sai top.
Kill Rek'Sai. I slow him.
We can fight this.
Fight. Rek'Sai.
Okay.
Race behind us. Go right.
Kill right. I can Exos.
Gravity field, and he's been stunned out. Chachi jumps into the fight. Van is dropping low. Here comes the Greyhound. Odoamne still alive. Lazarus fight is keeping everyone alive from H2K. They're the grand challenge heal. There's enough to keep him alive. Fox is coming up in 7, but it's not soon enough. H2K close in on Unicorns of Love's Nexus. They take the victory.